Tonight we put the spotlight on broken heart syndrome, also known as Takot-subo cardio-myopathy. It's a serious and sometimes fatal condition which mainly affects women. It's usually brought on by acute mental or physical stress, with symptoms mimicking those of a heart attack. Selena Jackson has been speaking to a patient who suffered from it and scientists who are exploring treatments.
Jane Gibson has always lived an active life. As a consultant rheumatologist, she knows only too well how important looking after her health is. And while working through the pandemic, kayaking offered her valuable time to switch off.
It was early September 2020, COVID still ongoing, and we took a trip. I think we'd just been allowed to travel outside our area. A group of us went up to the north coast of Scotland, and that particular day was an absolute gorgeous day. It was really sunny.
But that trip took a dramatic turn. Jane's husband Gary was hit by a strong wave and fell out of his boat, getting separated from the rest of the group.
I knew there was a cottage on the headland, so I thought, right, if I go in, then at least if I go up the headland I can see him and if necessary call for help. So I turned round and went in with the brake, and it was like fell in, rolled up, managed to get in, jumped out of my boat, ran up the headland and turned round, and he'd self-rescued onto the beach. So it was all or nothing.
Although Gary was thankfully safe, the intense emotional and physical exertion took its toll on Jane.
And then it just hit me. I just got this intense pain around the back of, tightness, really gripping tightness around the back of my neck and into my jaw. No chest pain or anything, and I just felt terrible. I sort of sank to my knees and didn't really know what was going on. And it passed after a few minutes, but the worst passed. I went down, got into my boat and felt a bit breathless and just not right. 3 strokes and then had to stop, and then another 3 strokes. I was short of breath. I had this incredible fatigue. So we paddled back to where the vans were, and again it was like 3 strokes and stop. Then had to carry the boats up, and they're quite heavy, these sea kayaks. And I got up and I thought, I'm just going to lie down here because I'm not right. And I took my pulse and it was 35, and I went, Gary, I think I've had a heart attack.
Jane was flown to Raigmore Hospital in Inverness, where she underwent a series of tests. Doctors there soon realised that, in fact, she hadn't suffered a heart attack, but an episode of Takot-subo cardio-myopathy.
I had to Google it because although it's the sort of thing that, I'm not a heart doctor, I'm a general physician rheumatologist, and so although I'd heard of it, I didn't know the ins and outs. So yes, I had to look it up, look up some papers and find out a bit more about it. But yes, it was a relief that I didn't have heart disease, but then also I read that it could be just as serious and have just as high a mortality rate. So relief in some ways, but this is quite serious.
Often referred to as broken heart syndrome, Takot-subo cardiomyopathy can happen when someone experiences trauma or intense physical or emotional stress. It causes a sudden weakening of the heart, which causes part of it to balloon. It was named by the Japanese doctor who discovered it, as it mimics the shape of a takotsubo, an octopus trapping pot.
The vast majority of the heart muscle in the main pumping chamber of the heart, which is the left ventricle, is not moving, and in fact is ballooning. It's completely paralyzed. It's without any contractile motion activity, which is what sustains life.
And that looks like quite a dramatic constriction.
And that is quite an impressive change from the normal pumping function of any heart.
When someone presents with symptoms of Takot-subo, how would doctors go about diagnosing that and differentiating it from a heart attack?
So patients with acute Takot-subo present just like patients with a heart attack, with a classical heart attack. They experience chest pain, breathlessness, they can collapse. When they come to the hospital, their blood tests and their ECGs are indistinguishable from a heart attack. And it is not until we look at the heart arteries and we establish that, unlike in a heart attack, they are completely clear. They are unblocked. And that's when the penny drops and we realize that we deal with a different condition. And this is broken heart syndrome.
Professor Dana Dawson is one of the world's leading Takot-subo researchers. She says that identifying it as a separate condition has been critical in developing better care.
Almost certainly there will have been cases that were diagnosed as heart attacks or misdiagnosed as heart attacks before we knew about this condition. They were there, we just didn't pick them up. To give you an idea of numbers, it's probably between 5 and 7% of all the heart attacks in women in a typical cardiology department. It is a connection between the brain and the heart that leads to the rapid onset of this condition. As I said, the onset is extremely acute and sometimes it can be catastrophic. Some patients can die during the acute presentation, which is hugely tragic.
So it's a physical response to an emotional trigger?
So it is very much a physical response to an emotional trigger.
15 years ago, Professor Dawson set up a Scottish registry of all the known cases in a bid to find out more about this relatively mysterious condition.
We discovered that patients who sustained an episode of broken heart syndrome have reduced survival compared to the general Scottish population, but their survival is a little bit better than patients with classical heart attacks, so they sit somewhere in the middle.
Women make up around 90% of Takot-subo patients, but the reason for that still isn't known.
There's a lot of theories as to why this condition would be more prevalent in women. Initially, it was described particularly in peri- and postmenopausal women. So people have jumped to the conclusion that it could be the menopause that could have a link with this. I don't think we have the evidence to sustain that theory. We don't know whether there is a genetic role for this either. That research has simply not been completed. It has not even been started, in fact.
Professor Dawson leads a team at Aberdeen University hoping to find some answers to many of the questions that still exist. And Jane has played a crucial role in helping them to learn more by signing up to a world-first clinical trial.
I got approached whilst I was in coronary care and asked if I'd take part. And absolutely, I mean, evidence-based medicine is on evidence. So if people don't take part in trials, but also from a personal, I'm just nosy. So it was a no-brainer for me, yeah. And I'm really glad that I did. It was fantastic.
The trial was led by Dr. David Gamble.
This was the first randomised clinical trial in Takot-subo cardio-myopathy anywhere in the world that looked at, can we help people's hearts recover after they've had an acute episode? Interestingly, there's lots of evidence that says that the common medicines that we use in cardiology, ones that help the heart muscle or ones that thin the blood, actually don't have evidence that they help in Takot-subo cardiomyopathy.
Patients were split into 3 groups and received either normal coronary care, cognitive behavioural therapy or an exercise programme. Jane was assigned to the exercise arm.
The first thing they did was work out how fit you were, so I had to do a treadmill test with the mask on, and they did further scans and things. Then they gave me a program which was really, really tough. I absolutely worked right to, it was all written out and I had to fill it in and send it back every week, and it was a tough exercise program even for somebody who's pretty fit. But the good thing about that was, as somebody who does loads of sport anyway, it said yes, it's okay for you to exercise. It's better for you to exercise than not and sit at home and worry about things.
Dr. Gamble says the results were incredible.
The heart's a pump, and how it generates energy, we know that is severely impaired in Takot-subo cardiomyopathy, both when it happens acutely, but also a number of years down the line. So we were particularly interested at looking at, does this energetic capacity of the heart recover? So that was our primary endpoint of the study, and remarkably both exercise training and cognitive behavioural therapy improved that in a statistically significant manner.
It's probably quite well accepted among a lot of people that exercise has a positive impact on heart health, but to hear that CBT has a similar effect must be really significant.
I think so, absolutely, because CBT is something that it can be readily available. I work within the NHS. The NHS is a marvellous healthcare system, but there are restrictions on funding. You know, there's a budget to it. CBT is something that's extremely cost effective, and also in the kind of age of increasing technology, increasing use of wearables and iPhones, CBT is something that in lots of other conditions is done on an app on your phone, and so the potential to roll it out is significant, I think.
There's still a huge amount to learn about Takot-subo syndrome and how best to treat it. But for patients like Jane, that desire to understand it more has been life-changing. How are you now compared to before this all happened? Do you feel just back to how you were before?
No, I'm 5 years older. I train regularly, I paddle regularly, do lots of other sport. I just thank my lucky stars that I wasn't as badly affected. In the study, at the end of it, they were able to say, it's completely fine, you're completely well, and now you're even fitter. Having that support of the study through this process, and then at the end of it knowing that my heart was fine was great. It's okay, you can still go and be the person that you were.